Hey y'all, this is Tish and I am here to talk to you today about God calling me to move from New York to Texas. So if you are in a season of transition where God has maybe asked you to move to another city as well, I hope that this video gives you faith and inspiration to make that move. So keep watching. The very first sign that God started to show me that Houston would be my home was me constantly seeing real estate videos of Texas-based homes on Instagram. And no, it wasn't in the algorithm because I was already looking for that. I literally had no reason to be looking for homes because I actually was never trying to move to Texas. And actually, I was very upset at the thought of if I would ever had to move there. I literally remember telling God, I don't know what you're doing with me in this church because I feel such a joy there. And I don't know why I keep seeing these Houston based homes. But if you ever told me I had to move to Houston, I'd be pissed off. I literally remember telling God that. So that was the first sign, actually. Then So in August of 2022, last year, I was there Saturday, August 27th to Tuesday, August 30th to visit this church that I am very connected to. I was strongly drawn to, and I was like a distant member living in another state. And God had already confirmed that my spiritual leaders were at this church and that this is my church home. I thought, I would just be a distant member being a part of that church from afar. But I went to visit and God literally said, this is about to be your home and sooner than you think. Here we are a year later and it's my home. When I got to Houston that day, the hotel that I was at, I was checking in and the hotel receptionist was asking me, just being kind, making conversation. She was like, so what brings you in town and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I'm here to visit, this church that I really love. She's like, oh, what church is this? And then I told her. She was like, hold on, that sounds familiar. She was like, is that the guy? She was like, is that the, the dark-skinned guy and he got the light-skinned wife? And I was like, yeah, you probably talking about the same person. And she was like, I forgot his name. And then I said his name. So I pulled up his Instagram page and she was like, yes, that's him. She was like, oh my gosh, I love them. And then she was like, their church is here? And I said, yes. I was like, the church is actually like 8 minutes from here. That's why I chose this hotel. She said, are you kidding me? She said, I love them. I watch them all the time. She said, I had no idea they were in the city. And I was like, what? I said, not only are they in the city, they literally are right here, like close to where you work. And then I asked her if she lived in the neighborhood. She said, yeah, I don't live far from here. She kept calling me a godsend. She said it repeatedly, like 4 or 5 times. She said, you're a godsend, you're a godsend. Like, she said, it took for someone coming all the way from New York to let me know the church that I've been following is right here. She said she'd been looking for a church home and she'd been wanting to get back into serving and stuff like that. And now that she knows that this church and this ministry she's been following is right there, she's going to try to get back into church. And she just kept calling me a godsend. And I was like, whoa. I was just like, okay, God, you already doing something? You already doing stuff. I didn't even step into my hotel room yet. I go to church the next day. When I pulled up to church, because the church starts at 12, it was 11:45. So it's 15 minutes before the start of service, and the line was literally coming out of the entry door. The very end of the line was actually in the doorway. So whoever was at the end of the line, they pretty much had to hold the door open. And so I get out the lift. I'm walking to the doorway to stand at the back of the line, and I'm looking at the building, and the building strangely kind of felt like I've been here before, even though I never actually been here. I was like, it don't even feel like I'm visiting a church. I was like, I feel like I've been here before, and it feels like I've been here many times before. It felt like a church that I've been at plenty of Sundays, even though it was my first time being there. And so the church literally felt like home before I even stepped foot in the building. And so I was like, all right, God. So I'm standing at the back of the line. Some lady, one of the church workers, came out, and she was really nice. She was like, oh, we can't really have people in the doorway because we just want to keep this clear. She said, you guys could go inside and go to the front and wait right at the sanctuary doors. I was like, are you sure? Because I don't want people to think that I'm like skipping them and they've been waiting there all this time. And she was like, no, it's okay, it's fine. I looked around and I could see like 2 or 3 girls that were standing in line together. They was just kind of giving me like a look. And I don't know what that was about, but I was like, whatever. I was told I could stand here, so. When the sanctuary opened for everyone to go in and take their seats, I walk in and there was a couple of people ahead of me already. So I was thinking that the first row was going to be taken up and that I would end up sitting in the second row. The usher was like, are you by yourself? Like anyone with your party? I said, no, it's just me. She said, oh, you could sit in the first row. It actually ended up being way more than enough space for me to fit in the first row. I thought I would be squeezed in. It was way more than enough space for me to sit. I was like, God, are you kidding me? I get first row? So I'll insert a picture of exactly where I was able to sit. I was like, God, like what? I came into church 15 minutes before it started. I was at the end of the line and I got to sit in a first row seat. It felt like that was God's way of giving me the best seat in the house to welcome me to what would be my new home. It's like he was welcoming me and giving me this grand entrance. I got to sit in that good seat, y'all. And y'all don't even understand how it made me feel. It really made me feel like God himself personally escorted me down the aisle to the best seat in the house and was like, I'm welcoming you home. So as the service went on, I was just looking around the sanctuary. I was just imagining myself like being there as a member that lived in state. I was imagining myself being a known member that attended that church every Sunday. I lived in state and I was a member who the pastors and leaders knew by name. Like I was just imagining that I actually lived there. It was like really a part of that church. And I was like, I can see this. Then God started to speak to me like, yes, this is home. This is going to be your new home. It's about to be your home sooner than you think, actually. During the sermon, the pastor started saying he had prepared one particular message. And literally the night before, when he was practicing and going over that message, God spoke to him and said, scrap everything you was about to talk about. I need you to talk about this instead. He was saying how God told him there's going to be somebody in the service tomorrow that needs to hear this new message. Someone is going to be there that needs to hear about putting me first in their life. And everything that he talked about was something that I needed to hear because that was a season in my life where I was out in these streets, okay, trying to be somebody I was not. And so coming from out of town and the urgency that there was for him to switch up his message and talk about that instead, which applied to me. So I just thought God did that for me. I remember before I flew out to Houston, I was asking God, like, please don't let me like just visit this church just for me to just simply visit a Sunday service and then that's it. That's the whole point in this trip. And then I just go back home. Like, that's mad whack. I'm flying out to Houston just to go to one service. I said, that's whack. Like, please let there be something else that I can be able to attend while I'm there. So fast forward, we in church that Sunday, and at the end of service, the pastor gives an announcement and he's like, so yes, tomorrow Monday is our singles event here in the church, so come on. And I was like, hold up. I was like, wow, God, you done answered a prayer. So then next day, I end up losing my debit card, my bank card, in the hotel room. I was like, I knew this trip was too good to be true and too perfect. I done searched that hotel room inside out like 5 times. And when I tell you I was looking hard, I was looking in places that didn't even make sense for me to look. I was looking in the microwave for my bank card. I made the garbage the last thing to look into. Something said, hold up. Look in a gift that you're gonna give to the leaders, because I had brought them a card and I had it inside of a bag that I was gonna give to them that night at the singles event. I know for a fact I didn't put it in there, but I was like, I'll check because something in me said to. So I opened the card and I feel something hard inside of it. And then I look, I seen something blue, my darn bank card. I was like, how did this get in there? That don't even make sense. And I was literally confused and baffled, and it felt like a miracle, because when I tell you with my whole heart, I never put that bank card in the envelope that I was gonna give to them. I couldn't even, to this day, that's like the one sign that happened that I feel like I have not gotten revelation about. That's the one sign to this day I still have not figured out why that happened. I was like, God, what this mean? I'm gonna be sponsoring them in the future? Like, no, they got sponsored me. I'm broke. Like, I was like, what this mean? Like, my giving is gonna be attached to them in their ministry? Like, is that why my bank card was there? Like, I don't know. I ended up going to the singles night event. I fell in love with the first lady, the pastor's wife. I was like, oh, you know, I thought I was drawn to him as my leader. I was like, I like you a little better, girl. And I think God was showing me when I interacted with her, signs that like she would be hospitable to me whenever I would move in town. And I saw her being someone that would like invite me out to like lunch and all that stuff. Like, God was just showing me a personal connection that, you know, could or would be there. And both days, Sunday and that Monday, the leader himself, he kept looking at me. And I was just wondering what this look meant. Nothing inappropriate. He was looking at me as if there was a thought in his head about me. And so I'm thinking, God, are you speaking to him about me the way you spoke to me about him? I want to know what you telling him, if you telling him something, because he's looking at me like he getting some revelation or something. Like, please, God, let me know. Are you telling him what you've been telling me? I was wearing a green shirt, and when I went up to them to say hi, give them hugs or whatever, the wife was like, girl, you was one of my favorite ones because you wearing green. Green was my favorite color. I was like, okay, I would wear a green shirt today, not know that it's your favorite color. I went back to the hotel. I ordered some Uber Eats. I had an interaction with the Uber Eats driver that never ever happened to me. He brought me my food, and then he was like, thank you so much, I'm so sorry. He was like, you know, can you do me a favor? He was like, can you pray for me? And I'm like, where this coming from? Like, I was like, how does man even know that I pray? So I was like, okay, God, that's okay. Another significant moment happening on this trip. I was like, how does he even know I pray? And then he was like, yeah, like, he said, you people are God's favorite. So I need you to pray for me. Now I ain't gonna hold you in. He was like, you people. I was like, is he talking about you people? He was like, no, you people who are patient and you don't get angry fast. He said, you are God's favorite, and I know he hears y'all when y'all pray. So can you please pray for me? And I said, okay, I'll pray for you. I was like, how do you know I pray? How do you know I'm even God's child? How are you able to know this? That was a very, very, very significant sign. And then the biggest sign of them all, I go upstairs, I create a reel. It was a reel where I was kind of like lip syncing a Cardi B audio. At this time, I only had like 160, I think, 130 to 160. I had 100 and something followers on Instagram. And do you know, within 3 hours, that reel had 13,000 views. For me, that's viral. A person with only 100 and something followers, that's viral. Within 3 hours, I happened to check the reel 3 hours later and it was at 13,000 views. It could have hit 13,000 before that. That's just when I happened to look. The next morning, it had another 2,000 views. By the next morning, meaning just only a few hours later, it had another 2,000 views, and it was up to 15,000. And eventually when I went back to New York, it went up another like 4,000. That blew my mind. My mouth was like, because what that video showed me was that no other reel have I ever done performed like that. That was the first reel I ever did in Houston, and it did those numbers. No other reel did that. And so I was like, okay, God, I hear you loud and clear. You want me in Houston because in Houston, you're gonna make me fruitful, and you're gonna make me fruitful quickly. That's what I thought that whole thing represented. Yep. So this will be, a 3-part video. This video, the first part is about God revealing to me that Houston would be my new home. The second part is going to be about the journey actually transitioning. And then part 3 will be about what happened once I got here. That's going to be the part that takes the longest to put out, because I have to be here for some time to be able to testify about all that has happened. God can do all things, and he can do it anywhere he chooses, but I felt like me staying in New York wasn't where he wanted to perform his work in me. I felt like I had to go far. I felt like he wanted me to go far to display his power and glory the greatest, because me staying in New York, everything could be credited to convenience. Me coming out here to Houston, where I don't have any family in Houston, none of my friends are here, I don't have a car. I took a huge pay cut from what I was earning in New York. Expensive luxury building, huge pay cut. None of this is convenient, and so nothing would explain the possibility of me surviving here but God. All of this is going to be explained in part 3. This was a faith move. I don't think most people would have done what I've done, especially not really having the means to be here. It was a faith move. All that I gave up, all that I sacrificed, what I have put up with, what I am putting up with currently. Yeah, it's a faith move, but God has already been showing his provision, and I will share that at a later date. This video is literally 38 minutes. I'm gonna try to cut it down as much as I can. I hope that this video inspires you to make the move. At least give God a chance. If God has called you to another city, at least visit that city, and just see God start to confirm things about him calling you to that city, and understand that when God calls you to do a big thing, it is because he's about to show out in a big way. But for that to happen, you have to take that big step of faith. So thank you for watching. Be on the lookout for part 2, where I talk about my journey. So I will see y'all in part 2. Thank you for listening. God bless. See you in the next video.